Right now, everywhere you look, there is tension and dread. From Team 7's mission at the Land of Wind, Jura's absolute strength, and Kawaki getting his limiters removed. But now, with this most recent chapter, there is something on top of this, which is Boruto getting weary of Kashin Koji, as this is hinting towards Boruto going down his own path, his own training arc to develop what he deems to be the solution to the Senju. As throughout the entire time skip, one thing has been quite clear, and that is Boruto's dependence on Kashin Koji. If you look back at all the events that happened, ever since Sasuke got turned into a tree, and Boruto was helped and rescued by Kashin Koji, when people were looking for him, ever since that moment, Boruto has low-key been in Kashin Koji's palms the entire time. His training sessions revolved around the instructions that Kashin Koji gave him. Everything he does in the time skip, his appearance in the village, the timing of it was decided by Kashin Koji. Him not going right now to help Team 7 out fight against Ryu and Mitsuri. All of this is because of Kashin Koji, and this would be perfectly fine if Kashin Koji was transparent. With the way that Kashin Koji is acting, and with the way he is deciding to withhold information from Boruto, it is quite clear that Boruto has gotten weary about exactly what Kashin Koji is trying to do. I'm not saying that Kashin Koji is the final villain who is trying to manipulate everybody in the series and then pop out and reveal that he's been working with Amato the entire time. I'm not saying that. However, what I'm saying is that Kashin Koji is not afraid of letting a few people, like maybe Mitsuki Sarada, die if it will mean that Boruto not only survives but ends up being able to defeat the Senju. But for Boruto, what is the purpose of defeating the Senju if it means that he's going to let everybody around him end up dying? This is where we can start to see a divide between Boruto and Kashin Koji, due to the way that Kashin Koji withholds information from Boruto. And although Boruto trusts Kashin Koji, he knows that Kashin Koji is not working towards the interests of individuals, but is working towards the interests of the entire planet. Which now means that Boruto could now decide to make his own move. Kashin Koji telling Boruto not to go and help Team 7 out, and refusing to tell him the likelihood of them failing or not, could indirectly push Boruto towards acting out against Kashin Koji and doing what he deems to be best. As Boruto can't see the future as of yet, we don't know if this is an ability he would later on awaken for himself, but he is dependent on Kashin Koji. However, he still remains a singularity of fate, and thus his actions could end up changing the future. Boruto making his own moves and the actions that he chooses to do now, especially with all the new information that he has, could end up leading towards a completely different future. And thus maybe him making his own move and deciding to go against what Kashin Koji says all the time and sometimes make decisions for himself, that could end up leading towards a future that is better for everyone, or towards a future where most people end up living. But what is key is that Boruto, no matter how you look at it, if Boruto cannot defeat Jura, he is bound to listen to what Kashin Koji says, as he is going to lead the planet towards the most likely route of the Senju being defeated. So if Boruto doesn't want to continue relying on Kashin Koji, he has to develop the strength necessary for him to be able to defeat the likes of Jura, which means that Boruto has to go through another training arc, and one that is devised about himself and dealing with the things that he may be pushed aside, like Momoshiki, and thus being able to defeat the likes of Jura. As if you analyze everything that has been presented, and that's what we'll be doing in this video. We're going to be analyzing all the possible routes that the story could take for us to be able to defeat the Senju, and thus come out with ways that Boruto could end up working towards in this next training arc for him to be able to defeat the Senju. And the first thing that we have to talk about, especially when it comes to Boruto, is Momoshiki, as alongside the Jogun, Momoshiki is one of the paths that Boruto could take. Right now in the story, there are two paths that Boruto can take when it comes to his own personal training. The first one is a path of dealing with Momoshiki, as it is undeniable that Boruto would grow in strength if he ends up using the karma. In base, Boruto is already the strongest person in the village if you remove Damien, and if you add the karma on top of this, that gives an exponential multiplier to the person's base when he ends up using karma, which was noted by Naruto and everybody who has seen karma users tap into their karma and go crazy. They have always noticed an exponential jump and increase in their power. So if you take a Boruto who is the strongest ally to the Leaf right now and you were to exponentially increase his strength, he should be a better contender to be able to defeat the likes of Jura. And that's why going down the Momoshiki path of dealing with Boruto's biggest thorn, the biggest thing that is holding Boruto back is dealing with Momoshiki. The fact that he can't tap into that karma power, the same karma power that Kawaki is relying on now to be able to go back to his full strength and be at his peak. So when it comes to dealing with Momoshiki, there are really a couple paths. It could go down two ways in my personal opinion. Either we see almost a Kurama-like path where we have a Boruto who ends up going inside his body, inside his psyche, dealing with the likes of Momoshiki. This could be an internal battle between Momoshiki and Boruto, where if Boruto ends up defeating Momoshiki, he would be able to have access to Momoshiki's powers, or he would simply be able to vanquish Momoshiki out of his body. Although this sounds the most cool, as it follows almost a Kurama-like path that the story could end up taking, if we're 100% honest, that doesn't really make the most sense based off the information that we have, as if this was a genuine possibility, this would have happened a long time ago. And where would the idea of Boruto having to go into his psyche, and where would this idea even come from in the first place? Some could say a meeting with Orochimaru, who knows a lot about curse mark, and we can see that his curse mark is almost pretty much the same as the karma minus the technological aspects of it. This is a path that the story could take. However, when it comes to that, there hasn't been enough hints that a psyche battle between Momoshiki and Boruto will end up taking place where Boruto defeats Momoshiki. I just don't see that route working out. So the other route that is quite likely to me, if we do end up seeing Boruto use the karma, is that Boruto and Momoshiki end up working together. This is because of the common interests that they have. Regardless of what ends up happening, Momoshiki will not take over Boruto's body. Boruto will be in control for a set amount of time when they end up working for the common goal of defeating Jura, as Momoshiki said that Boruto is his precious vessel and he cannot allow Boruto to end up dying. So one option that the story could take is that Boruto agrees to use Momoshiki's powers and makes a deal with Momoshiki, where at the end of this arc, where Jura ends up being defeated, Momoshiki is allowed to take over Boruto's body permanently, and this would obviously allow the fight between Kawaki and Boruto to take place, due to the fact that Boruto has now admitted that it is cool for him to die. However, clearly in the time skip they are not fighting, and the reason for that, the reason why Boruto hasn't allowed himself to die, is due to the simple fact that there is most likely another threat out there that Boruto also has to deal with, and thus he will not allow himself to die. As Boruto throughout the time skip, when it comes to subject matters of his death, he has always said that, yeah, dying would be a great option, but I have to deal with this problem right now. He's not opposed to his death, and he doesn't view his death as not bringing the best for the world. He literally says dying would be a good thing, however I can't do so right now. So maybe there comes a point where he works with Momoshiki and deems that it is best that he dies after the Senju War by the hands of Kawaki, and thus he is able to defeat the Senju, make a deal with Momoshiki, and that deal not really working out in Momoshiki's favor, allowing Kawaki to kill him. But obviously during that time there would be another threat that causes Boruto to reconsider the fact of letting himself die, as he believes that his death in that point, if a new threat is revealed, will not lead to the best consequence for the village, and thus he doesn't end up dying. That's one path that the story could take if we go down the Momoshiki route. However, if we go down the Jogun path, it is the most interesting, however the most unclear. Whenever we've seen Boruto use the Jogun, it has been in an act of need, not in an act of want. With the other dojutsus, we have seen it react to emotions. However, the Jogun has simply appeared when Boruto simply did not have the abilities necessary to deal with an opponent. We've seen this with Nue. When Boruto fought versus Nue, Boruto could not revert Nue back to his original form if he was not able to see his chakra pattern. And that's exactly what ends up happening. Boruto unlocked a specific ability that allowed him to deal with that threat that was Nue. And what's quite interesting is that after this moment, we have never seen the Jogun being used in a way that ends up seeing somebody's chakra path. It was only in that instance with Nue that this was the case. And if we look at his fight versus Urashiki, this is the only time we have seen the Jogun literally be able to tell Boruto where Urashiki would appear in the future, almost seeing 2 to 3 seconds into the future without Urashiki being able to know. And that's why Urashiki calls Boruto's Jogun quite troublesome. However, in both these instances, we have seen the Jogun display various different abilities that it didn't display again. Boruto was not able to see 2 to 3 seconds into the future when he was fighting versus Nue, just like Boruto was not able to see Urashiki's chakra pattern when he was fighting Urashiki. And the common denominator between those two scenarios is that Boruto needed a specific ability to be able to deal with that threat. So if the Jogun responds to a need and not necessarily emotions or desire, then it means that Boruto could awaken the Jogun versus the likes of Jura, as he would need a specific ability to be able to take down the likes of Jura that goes way beyond a Master Rasengan, Uzuhiko, due to the gap in their power. Thus, the Jogun would be what is quite necessary for him to be able to stop Jura. Boruto and Jura never really had that 1v1. We had a Jura who literally sniped Boruto and a Boruto who admitted that he can't do anything against Jura. So the moment where Boruto could awaken his Jogun versus an opponent of that level of strength hasn't really happened. But if you also check Boruto's burden in the time skip, you would see that Boruto has now deviated from his simple destiny of being the one to lose everything. That has come to pass. But now Boruto is diving into another fate, and that fate is to be the star of hope for the world. The person who will battle and protect the world, the person who will battle and protect this ninja world from fate itself. And when Jura is first introduced into the series, he literally tells Boruto that wherever he runs, he can't escape his destiny, which essentially says that wherever he runs, he can't escape Jura, due to the fact that Jura's presence in this world is a natural enemy towards Boruto's fate of being the protector of the world, which means that no matter what, Boruto and Jura will end up having this 1v1. This shows that Jura's presence in the series deals with Boruto's fate, and Boruto's fate deals with the fact that he has been given the Jogun to be able to combat that fate that he is dealing with, which is why these two paths, the path of Momoshiki, him going stronger through Momoshiki and being able to deal with that, and the Jogun are the only two ways that I can see Boruto by himself being able to defeat or fight against the likes of the Senju and potentially end up defeating them. However, this is not all, as Boruto follows a similar path of Naruto, and that path is one of teamwork. And that's why I'm saying that when Boruto did say to Koji that no matter what, he is not going to end up killing Kawaki, it means that he now plans on defeating Jura with the likes of Kawaki. Boruto knew that Jura would eventually pop up ever since the time skip, ever since he started working with Koji, as Koji literally told Boruto that Jura would kill him. But yet he still said that he would end up working with Kawaki to end up defeating the likes of Jura. And that's what he literally does a few chapters ago, telling Kawaki exactly how to get stronger and telling him that they have to work together to be able to defeat the likes of Jura. But Boruto working with Kawaki to defeat the likes of Jura tells us 2 hints, and may also tell us what path Boruto is going to choose when it comes to the Momoshiki path or the Jogun path. When it comes to Kawaki, the first very important thing that is needed to be discussed is the fact that Kawaki is going to be bare minimum Ishiki level when he ends up coming out and getting his limiters removed. It would officially make him Ishiki level, not only due to the fact that he is tapping to all of Ishiki's powers only as power, but also due to the fact that Kawaki is the perfect vessel, and Jigen was not a perfect vessel, which even further solidifies the point that Kawaki could even be stronger than the version of Ishiki that we saw appear in the manga, due to the fact that he was revived in an imperfect vessel. Kawaki coming back as an Ishiki level threat will tell us exactly how strong Jura and the others are, and based off everything that I see, if Boruto tells Kawaki that they have to work together to defeat the likes of Jura, even after telling him to get his limiters removed, it means that bare minimum, Jura is stronger than Ishiki. I'm not saying that everybody in the Senju is stronger than Ishiki. I really pray and hope that's not the case. From what we have seen, Ryu is at least Jigen level, but not Ishiki level, which is a little bit better. However, Jura in this case would be bare minimum stronger than Ishiki, which makes this battle even more interesting, as Boruto working with Kawaki tells us that Boruto knows that he has to use the karma. And this is simply due to the case that Kawaki, in order for him to be an Ishiki level threat, he has to tap into his version 2 level karma, which he was able to do back in the days during the Code arc. And the reason why we haven't seen Kawaki be able to use version 2 karma is because that moment was irreproducible, and he still has to go through that activation period that Boruto and Kawaki had to go through when it came to learning things like flight and space-time ninjutsu. So Kawaki will eventually be able to tap into all of Ishiki's powers, and most likely with the limiters removed, it will be a lot easier, but it means that Kawaki will use the karma, and thus Boruto fighting with Kawaki means that both of them will end up using the karma. So if Boruto is so comfortable with the idea of working with Kawaki, it means that the next step for Boruto is for him to deal with the likes of Momoshiki, whether it be through defeating him in his psyche or creating a deal with Momoshiki of them working together to defeat the likes of Ryu. No matter what the case ends up being, them working together means that Boruto will use the karma, and most likely version 2 level karma. And what's going to be quite interesting this time is seeing the true changes in both Boruto and Kawaki's karma forms. Are they going to look a little bit more Otsutsuki like? Are they going to act a little bit more like their respective Otsutsuki, Kawaki with Ishiki and Boruto with Momoshiki? A lot of these things will be explained, and that's why Boruto and Kawaki working together means that they are going to rely on their karma for them to be able to defeat the likes of Jura. And that's why you have to watch this video right here, as I discuss exactly what true SS karma is and why we really haven't seen it ever since the Code arc.